Hello, watching and listening audience. I am Dr. E. Jean Pemberton of Indus Education. Welcome to this podcast. This podcast is the Finish Line Podcast Roundtable Discussion, where I am joined with three amazing, wonderful African American men who have earned their doctoral degree. This particular episode, we are going to focus on the dissertation prep. But before we get started, I always ask you to do three things. And those three things is to first, please make sure that you like this video. And then please share this video with someone who you know will benefit from this podcast. And then lastly, please make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. So as we prepare to get started, I want to let our wonderful men to introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Dr. Mikos Smith. Dr. Smith, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listening and watching audience.
Hello, my name is Dr. Mikos Smith, Auburn University, December 2019, a PhD in adult education.
I love it, love it. Dr. Bobby Courtney, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, Dr. Bobby Courtney, Texas Woman University, 2024, and my major was family studies.
And Dr. Bryant, go ahead and introduce yourself to the listening audience.
Larry Bryant, the University of Wisconsin at Madison, PhD in 2006.
06. Oh, he made you know what? He's being real special right there. All right, he emphasized 06. We're not going to tell you why, but if you look him up, I'm sure you will find out. All right, so now as we prepare to get into this discussion, I want our listening audience to just learn a few things about the dissertation status. But before we get into the dissertation status, you all have shared with the listening and watching audience your dissertation topic. So I want you to share with them, when do you think will be a best practice, or provide an advice as to what stage do you think someone needs to begin to develop their choice in their dissertation topic? And we'll start with you, Dr. Courtney.
I believe starting at the very beginning, while you're taking class, starting getting a mindset of what your dissertation topic will be, because it may change. In fact, mine did change. I came in wanting to do my dissertation on military, because I was a military guy, and I wanted to see the effects the government had over military personnel and the divorce rate. But then I realized how long that was going to take, and I said I had more access to educators, because I am in education. At the time, I was assistant principal. So I changed it while along the way. So kind of have an idea, but just know it may change.
Yes, yes. Dr. Bryant, what about you? Share with the listening audience and provide them with advice of what stage they should move forward with their dissertation topic, making that decision.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Courtney, is that you should have at least some kind of general understanding at the time of application. When you're submitting your application, you should have some kind of idea of what problem in the world you're wanting to solve or at least address.
I love that what you just shared, what problem in the world that you want to solve or address or to approach. Dr. Smith, what would you share with your thoughts, the listening audience as well? What stage should they be in when it comes to making that decision for the dissertation topic?
I say, for me, it did change a couple of times. Just make sure that you have a good group of people around you that can give you different perspectives to solve this problem.
So I want to ask this question to just anyone or everybody who's on the panel. Do you think someone should even approach and apply for a doctoral program if they don't have in their mindset what problem they want to solve or what research that they want to move forward with as it relates to the dissertation? Do you think they need to wait before application and at least have some type of idea? We know that it does change, it may adjust, but if you don't even know, should you apply into a doctoral program?
I say still apply, because motivation can come from anywhere.
Okay.
Like I said, I was just in the midst. I had my mindset on one thing, and then I ended up getting a mentor when I was here in Dallas, and he actually guided me and showed me a different avenue, and I was able to go ahead and knock out my PhD with that.
What about you, Dr. Bryant? What are your thoughts? Should they apply or should they wait?
I'm going to have an opposing view on that. I
Okay.
think that if you're going to go out and actually solve the problems of the world, you have to know what those problems are. And if you don't know what those problems are, why put yourself in a position that you can, at that point, you don't know what you're doing. No one's going to be able to help you because you have no idea. Is that at the doctoral level, the expectation is that you're coming with us with a whole plethora of information already. We don't have to spoon feed you this information. So if you're waiting to get to your program is going to, first of all, it's going to cost a lot of money and time and effort. And for you not to know what you're even interested in doing, that's not going to be a good thing for you.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Dr. Courtney?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of in between both of them. Actually,
Okay.
I believe in striking the iron while it's hot as well. And so I just think while the iron is hot, that's your chance right then to go ahead mentally to get focused on what you want to do. And then of course, over time, it will come, if you haven't already gotten it. Mine was a little easier for me because I knew going in from my life experiences that I'm going to stay in some area of family studies. So it gave me a direction of what area. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to write on, but I knew family studies and the structures of the family, especially African American families, were something that I was very, very interested in. So I had an idea, but didn't quite know about how I was going to go about it.
Okay. So at least you should have an idea of the area that you're going to go into, because of course, just applying
Right.
for a doctoral program, there are so many out there. So at least you need to have an idea, because you are going to invest time, money, energy, life, all of those things. And you don't want to just spin your wheels to say, I want to earn a doctorate, and you don't have at least a concept of which direction you want to go.
Very unlike the undergraduate experience where you have general elective courses. So you're going to get a liberal arts education. So you'll get a little smattering of all the different types of areas in which you can pursue your undergrad. You're not going to get that in your doctoral program. It's going to be very specific to the topic that you're interested in studying. So you have to know what you're interested in studying to get that topic. I mean, in our undergrad, we took psychology, we took history, we took math, we took English, we had all of those. But in the doctoral program, it is straight about what it is that you're trying to study. So like Dr. Courtney said, it's all family science. What branch of family science, he figured that out on the way, but he knew he was going to family science. In my experience, I knew I was doing special education. I specifically picked the university and the professor I wanted to work with before I even applied. I knew the person what I wanted to do. I knew the area. Now, I learned some things along the way. I was exposed to some things along the way that really aided me and how I ended my doctoral program. But I knew special ed was what I wanted, and I knew the person I wanted to study under. So those are really good ideas to have before you even do it.
Dr. Smith, as you was preparing to transition because you went, was it directly from master's to the doctoral
Correct.
program, or did you? Okay, so because you were in that wind, right? You was in that wind of academia, mindset, thought patterns. You knew this is what you wanted to do. Were you in the same field from your master's program to your doctoral program, or was it something different?
No, it's totally different. I got my master's in engineering. And
Okay.
so in the midst of it, I started teaching engineering when I was in Atlanta, Georgia. And so while I was teaching, I was like, well, I might as well go ahead and get a PhD in education. So I
Okay.
want to get on the collegiate level. So that's why I went ahead and got to adult education. Now, that's why I
Okay.
was saying the whole thing about the dissertation, actually what you want to write about, you're going to find motivation as you continue on. But I had an idea that I wanted to be in education. So I went straight to that school.
I
But
love it. Go ahead.
I'm
Go
sorry
ahead,
to
Dr.
interrupt.
Courtney.
But I think all of us is under the assumption that we all were driven. The three men on this platform appear to be driven, and we knew kind of where we were going to go with it. But some people decide to get their doctorate degree just because they want to be called doctor. So they may not have an idea. They may not know exactly why they're doing it, because I don't care about solving life's problems. I just want, when I go in the room, that people know I have some level of education, and we got to put some respect on my name, as kids say. So I think sometimes you got to assume that some people don't want to do anything but be called doctor. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what I do.
And that's real talk. And there are some people that I know it's important that you acknowledge them with Dr. such and such. So, and I'm not mad at that. If you spend that money
I get
and you invested in that amount of time just to have the letters behind your name or the DR in front of your name, respect. So there's definitely respect. So let's continue with the discussion on, moving forward with your doctoral program and the structure or the strategies that help you to structure and plan your proposal. Because, of course, one of the things that Dr. Bryant talked about is coursework. When you're in your doctoral program, you are typically going to take coursework first. I don't know of any program that doesn't require that, but that's important because that's going to help you build your literature review and develop you moving towards the dissertation phase. So once you completed your coursework, and maybe let's talk about that before we go into dissertation. Did you have to take any type of exams, oral exams, written exams, before you moved into dissertation status? Dr. Smith, we'll start with you first. If so, what was that process like?
I had to take an oral exam once I finished the coursework. After the oral exam, and I did take a comprehensive exam as well too.
Comprehensive. Did you do any type of preparation for both of them or either of them prior to?
No, I didn't. I just went in and did what I had to do. Yeah, I did.
So with the oral exam, was those who were part of the committee your professors, or were they?
Yeah, they were my professors. They were actually not my committee.
Okay.
And we just went in there. They asked me some questions about all the coursework that I've done, and just answered everything. And then I did a comprehensive exam. Wrote. I don't think I didn't write anything, but yeah, I just took those exams and that was it.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Bryant? What was your process before going into dissertation status between coursework and dissertation?
Oh, yeah. So we had a qualifying exam. That qualifying exam happened after you took your first 4 courses, and it was a written exam. So it was a start paper. It had to be at the level of being publishable. And then once you completed that, we completed the rest of the coursework. If you passed that, you did complete the rest of the coursework, and then you had a proposal defense you had to do. And so that proposal defense was, or people call it prospectus. It was the first 3 chapters. So during our coursework and my coursework and my process, I decided to use the particular courses that I took to create the first 3 chapters of my dissertation. So the methods section, I used the stats courses as well as the methods courses to create that chapter. And then those were the chapters that I defended to move forward into the dissertation process.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Courtney? Did you have to take any type of comprehensive exams or prior to going into the dissertation phase?
Well, I got lucky. Well, I got really, really, really lucky. When I first got into the program, it was a 3-day process, written and oral, 2 days of writing and 1 day of oral exam. And as the time went on, they changed the process and gave us a choice because I kind of grandfathered in. And so the choice was to either to do a comprehensive exam, basically like a proposal defense, pretty much. You sit with your committee, and your committee kind of just questioned, and they went through the whole first 3 chapters of your paper, and they just kind of question you what were you thinking on this, what was your thought when you did this. So it was kind of a defense of your proposal before you can go any further. So I can't imagine, because that first part was the written. They will give you a topic, and you write as much as you could about that topic, structural theory or whatever theory. Right, you had that one. So I don't feel too bad for you now, but
That was my experience.
right.
And I had to do that. My written comprehensive exams were April 2020. So it was COVID. Yes, it
Oh,
was
yeah, right.
grueling. Let me
So
just
I
say
got
that.
lucky. So I chose, and to be quite frank, I chose the latter
Yeah.
because I wasn't confident in the 3-day process as maybe I should have been. But of course, the anxiety level was lowered when they gave me a different option.
Did you do any type of prep, Dr. Bryant, for your exam?
So for my doctorate, so I had 2 things. So I did an additional master's degree in the process of doing my PhD. So we
Okay.
did have comprehensive exams for that, and that
Okay.
was, I believe they gave us 10 questions, gave us a month to study those 10 questions, and then when we came back, we had to answer 3 of those 10. And so we didn't know which 3 we were going to get. We had to answer all of those. I believe they gave us 8 hours to write 3 papers. So that was for the master's. But for my doctoral program, we didn't really have a comprehensive. It is kind of told us, well, when you come to do the proposal defense, we want you to have these things prepared. And so we had to know the introduction. We had to know our methodology and our methods really well. We had to know the literature. We had to be able to cite very specific individuals. We had to know the first citation in my field. We had to know who were the most prominent authors and scholars in that field, in that area. And so those kinds of things. So it was more for a research focus than what I ended up doing academics, but it was more research focused.
And this is important for people to hear as you all talk about your different experiences preparing for the dissertation, because some had to do comprehensive exams, other oral exams, but did everybody have to do a prospectus or proposal before you were approved to move forward with your dissertation? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so for you, Dr. Smith, first 3 chapters as well: introduction, lit review, and methodology.
It was introduction, chapter lit, methods, results, and conclusion.
Okay, for the proposal?
For the no, first 3, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay.
First 3 chapters.
I was gonna say, woo, they wanted you to come in with it.
Right. The first 3 chapters.
Okay. Do you remember about how many pages was it?
I believe my proposal had probably about 30 pages, 25,
Okay.
25, 30 pages, I believe.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Bryant? Do you remember? I know it's been a while.
Oh, ow. So I'm just kind of going back and looking. It was probably around 100, 80 to 100 page range.
For the proposal?
For the proposal, yes.
Okay. Dr. Courtney, do you remember yours?
The perspectives was like a snapshot summary of what the entire paper was going to be about. The hard part about that was we had to do that perspectives within 10 pages. Correct.
Okay.
And the proposal was for mine, about 45 to 50 pages of the first 3 chapters of, which mainly was the lit review, but the first 3 chapters of your paper. So
was it your committee chair that had to do your approval in order for you to move forward with your dissertation? Is that correct for everybody?
correct.
Everyone? Okay.
Correct.
Very good. So now let's talk about committees, right? And committee chairs and what that process looked like for you to be able to decide who your chair on your committee is, as well as committee members. And we'll start with you first, Dr. Smith.
So my professors, of course, were my committee, and my committee chair. It was between the husband and the wife, the Whitties, and so Dr. Whitty, the wife, Maria, she took me, and so I was pretty much given somebody.
And all of them were professors at the university?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about you, Dr. Bryant?
So my major professor is the professor who brought me into the university. So we had to have one of that. So in order for you to be into our program, a professor had to accept you and be the person to guide you through. So that person stayed with me the whole entire time. I did not select anyone from my department to be a part of my dissertation committee. I did select individuals who were outside of the department, but they were within the School of Education. So I took people from curriculum and instruction, as well as educational leadership, because of the intersecting ideas and intersecting literature that I was working with. I had Gloria Ladson-Billings from Culturally Relevant Pedagogy. I had Carl Grant, who did multicultural education to really flush out and help understand Black men in education. I had Cliff Conrad, who did the methods and methodology section, because you want a methodology expert on your committee to help you with that component.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that later, why that's important, because that's
Yes, I had one too. I agree with
huge
you.
component of your defense. And then I had Julie Mead, Dr. Julie Mead, who was an expert in special education law. And so I was looking at how all that body of literature intersected. So it was wise to have those individuals as part of my committee.
Totally agree with you. What about you, Dr. Courtney? What was your process of putting together your committee as well as selecting your committee chair?
Well, for me, I was pretty vague in how I didn't have a specific choice of who I chose to be my committee chair. I did leave with my committee chair, who I originally had when I got in the program, but I fired him because I wasn't getting where I wanted to go fast enough. So I changed committee chairs. And then the second time, my committee chair retired. So I had 3 committee chairs throughout my process. But the great thing about that was that I was able to get people who, one, were ex-educators who kind of understood my plight. I wanted personally to choose at least one of color, meaning African American, female or male. In this case, all I had was females. But I was fortunate enough to have two African Americans, and that was important to me because I didn't feel like at the time no one else could relate to what I was trying to do. Right? They were going to keep me focused on what I wanted my dissertation to look like and how I wanted to read. But then after a while, I did have an expert in stats, of course, because that was just not my choice of classes. Unfortunately, I had no stat classes until I got to the dissertation portion of school. So for me, pretty random choices, but yet I did make sure I want an African American on my committee.
Very good. So, and were they all part of your university? Every person who was on the
Yes,
committee, were they
yes.
members of the university? Okay, faculty members.
I did, but as a sidebar, I
Mhm.
did have two other people who was kind of reading over, who wasn't a
Okay,
part of the university, who was part of my circle, who had gone through the program, gone through other programs in different
okay.
schools to kind of keep my committee chair honest, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. So let's talk about that outside mentorship and the people that you had in your life that outside of your committee members. Did you have any of that? And Dr. Courtney, you just shared how you had other people that were readers for your paper. Why did you make that decision? I know you said to keep everyone honest, but what prompted you to make that decision to have others to be part of that process for you?
Well, for me, because I changed committee chairs a couple of times,
Okay,
right?
right.
And I want to make sure that what I was getting the best bang for my buck. So people, when you're writing, of course, you write the way the way you read most times, right? Or you read the way you write. And so I made sure I had people who I knew had me, Bobby Courtney, best interest at heart, right? Not to say that
Right.
I didn't trust the academic my people who I went to school with in those university chairs. However, I know, and we'll get to this later on in this podcast, sometimes it can appear the money grab sometimes. So I want to make sure I was getting the best bang for my buck with confounds and the time frames of getting out when I want to get out. So, I read it and my chair read it. I had a English major to read it. I had someone who was great at APA to read it, right? There's different things to look over to make sure when I got back to my committee chair or my committee as a whole, I wasn't wasting time. I tried to stay ahead of them when it came down to what I expected them to see.
And I'm glad you talked about the format. Let's talk to you, Dr. Smith. Did you have anybody that was outside of your committee that, was like your advisor or your mentors? Did you see the need for that or not?
I saw the need for it, definitely. Again, I was living in Dallas when I was going through the dissertation portion of it, and going back and forth from Dallas to Auburn was already challenging. So I did have Dr. Toll, who was at that time a professor at SMU, and he was able to help guide me and assist me in pretty much everything that I was going through. So definitely that mentorship and that outside individual, somebody that could put their hands on you and somebody that you can actually sit down and talk to was a real help for me. So I mean, all I needed was him, and he was able to push me forward and motivate me to keep on going.
All right. What about you, Dr. Bryant? Did you have someone outside of your committee that were helpful for you as you was, getting towards the finish line with your dissertation?
Not directly, but
Okay.
indirectly, yes. While at Madison, we had a small group, and it was typically all African Americans who were pursuing a PhD across the campus, and we would meet at a professor's home. And at that time, we didn't really read each other's work, but we discussed each other's work a lot, and we shared ideas back and forth. So it was more like an after-church think tank, and that's what we had those every single Sunday. We did those things. But what the university did do for us is that it provided us an outlet in which we shared our work. We were expected as graduate students to participate in national conventions, such as the American Educational Research Association, and also for mine is the Council for Exceptional Children, where we would have to construct papers and then submit those papers as proposals to these national bodies. And then if those proposals were accepted, then we would have to first present them to the body at the university for approval prior to going to the actual convention to present them then. And at that particular time, we got feedback from the participants in the audience, or from the participants and audience at the national conventions, as well as feedback from the university participants who came to hear and see the presentations. So that feedback was helped with the writing process as well.
So let's talk about that writing process with you, Dr. Bryant. Did you have any experiences or, as it relates to developing, or I say experiences, you had experiences, but what did you do to develop your writing schedule?
I put myself on a schedule. And so I made it sure that, like, I want to say it was between 4 and 6 hours on Tuesdays and Saturdays, I would set aside for writing.
Mhm.
Did I physically write? Probably not. But the time up in my head, the writing was the thinking, the processing, the organizing. So I would organize thoughts, I would look at data, I would categorize data. Those were the processes I did, and then I would just put it on paper. So I made sure I set aside, usually it was a Tuesday and a Saturday, Saturday afternoon, because it was after football and all that good stuff. And I think having that schedule set for me, I think that really helped me ground me into what I was doing and when I was doing it. And it became a pattern. And then after I established that pattern, then the network around me, they knew, oh, he's working, he's writing at this particular time. So just having that scheduled, and taking that time out and making sure that you make sure that that's time for that writing process to happen.
Dr. Smith, did you have any type of writer's block, any type of burnout as you was preparing for your dissertation?
Writer's block, burnouts. I quit every day. I had all of it. I did.
Not every day.
Every day. I experienced it. I mean, I totally understand anybody getting frustrated with it. I did not have a writing schedule. I just wrote whenever I
Mhm.
had the need, whenever I felt the need to go ahead and write. And also, I just tried to make it a priority every day to do something. So I mean, that's probably where the burnout came, because I was still, Dr. Brown said he did every Tuesday and Sunday, what Tuesday and Sunday. And so, but me, I was just doing it whenever I felt that urge to go ahead and try to get something done. That's what I was doing. So writer's block and burnouts, I definitely felt that daily.
Dr. Courtney, did you experience that burnout, that stress?
I think burnout is natural when you're at this stage of academia. But for me, my schedule is Monday through Thursday, midnight to 2 a.m. That's the quietest time in my house. No one is awake. The phones are not ringing. Nothing's going on from midnight to 2 a.m. But 7-Eleven and myself. So that was my time to do whatever I was going to do for those 2 hours. Whether it was write, whether it was read. And then, of course, on Saturdays, from 8 a.m. to noon, I would go to the library because there are no students in the library at 8 in the morning. So from 8 to 12 noon was my lock-in days. Now, Fridays and Sundays, that's my day that I do nothing. I don't think about anything but family, sports, whatever I wanted to do. That was my time. But those were the hours. Now, of course, the further I got into it, and the closer I got to defending, that 12 to 2 may went from 12 to 3 or 12 to 4. But I made sure that at least those 2 hours a day I dedicated doing something towards my paper.
Dr. Courtney, looking back on your scheduling, looking back on the process, would you do something differently as it relates to preparing yourself with your dissertation and the process?
No, to be quite frank, because I've tried so many ways, that was the one that best fit my schedule. I tried to do it right after work. I would fall asleep
Mhm.
with a paper in my hand. I tried to do it right after class. Of course, I was hungry. So that was the best time after trial and error that fit my schedule. And of course, nothing was more important than my family.
Yeah.
The paper will always be there. The school will always be there. But marriages and relationships with your sons, not always there. They're not always there. So I want to make sure that if I did nothing else, I earmarked time for those who, one, were my motivation, but two, believe in me most. So they deserve at least some of my time, and not TWU always.
Dr. Smith, what advice would you give to someone who is about to start their dissertation?
I would say again, just make sure that you do have people outside of your committee. Know what you want to do. halfway know what you want to do starting your dissertation. After you get through the coursework, have some type of idea of what you want to do. And also try to get organized. I know people, once they get through with the coursework, because the coursework is kind of easy, the dissertation part, it's all on you. So just try to get organized and get some structure to get things done.
Dr. Bryant, what organizational processes or structures would you recommend for, peers right now who are preparing for their dissertation?
Okay, I wanted to share one of the experiences that I have that might be different than Dr. Courtney's
Mhm.
and also
Okay.
maybe yours as well, is that
Yeah.
I was a full-time student, so I didn't have other
Mm.
obligations at that particular time. And so it made it possible that I could create schedules and set out blocks of time and have that time become routine.
Right.
But so that was a little bit different. So to your question, if you can afford and if life affords you that opportunity to go full time, definitely take advantage of that. If you can do it on a full-time basis, take advantage of that. If your family can support you on a full-time basis, take advantage of that. The other thing is you have to really know your why. Why are you doing it? Because if you don't know your why, you're going to drop out. This is a very trying process. It's oftentimes I read something that 60-70% of couples break up during this process.
Mhm.
So either you have to select your partner or your dissertation, and then a large number also don't complete it. And some of those, the what we're talking about leads to those individuals not completing, is not having great time management, not structuring the dissertation as part of your life, not having your mental health together, not having social outlets, not being determined, not understanding why you're doing this. So I think having some of those questions answered first before you enter the process would be better. Now I'm going to shift. I'm gonna steal a little time here. I'm going to shift and be on the other side because I am and I have been a dissertation advisor. And the thing that's most frustrating is when someone comes in and they say, I want a PhD. And I talk about, so what is it you want to do? And they was like, I was hoping that you would help me with that. That is not my role here. My role is to support you through your transition. So, and then I'm not your personal advisor. So I think being responsible for yourself and then you have to go and seek out what it is that you want to do, and your angle is going to be very different than my angle. Well, they'll come and say, Dr. Bryant, I really want to look at how African American boys navigate the educational system with a disability, how they live with their disability. Okay, I can help you with that. I can guide you through that, but what is it that you want to know? I want to know what you know. No, you don't want to know what I know. That's not what the dissertation is about. The PhD is about you discovering new ways of seeing the problem. So I think having that up front and having it really well thought out, then you go. If you don't have that thought out, you can ask those questions. You can do something in between the master's program and a doctoral program. You can get additional information. You can have someone like a friend or someone who's gone through the process help you with understanding what the process will be and what you will need. So, like I always say, proper preparation prevents poor performance.
All those P's.
All speeds.
So, but you said something that was key and critical from both sides of the coin, right? As you are preparing for your dissertation, you don't want to waste your advisors, your committee chair, committee members' time. You don't want to waste their times, especially if they're faculty members, because they're preparing for coursework, they're writing for journals, they have a lot that's going on as well. So I think what you said was important. The key. What's that, Dr. Courtney?
I'm listening, but I tell you what, my mentality is a little bit different. Look, I'm paying you to listen to me. You the teacher, I'm
So,
the
so
pupil.
I,
I don't think you wasting the public's money.
so I am going to share with you. A lot of times
So
people don't
forget your
know
time
that.
about my money. My money.
Yes, a lot of people don't know that. When you do have committee members, they are getting paid to be on the committee. So a lot of people don't know that, but you do want to be respectful of their time. And because one day you're going to be on that, hopefully you'll be one of the advisors, Dr. Courtney. Hopefully you will be in that spot. And you do want someone to come in with that mature mindset of wanting to be advised, not to be the spouse of that person. And I think that's what Dr. Bryant was alluding to. Because if
Right.
you are going to step into the shoes of a doctoral program, then you need to step into the shoes of a doctoral program. So now we're gonna bring this to you because Dr. Courtney, you brought up something important, that your advisors, your committee chairs are getting paid. But what would you advise for someone who is preparing for the dissertation process? Because you got to respect both sides of the coin.
Just always come prepared. Your meetings, to me, with your advisors, you get what you put into it, right? It's like a bank account.
Mhm.
You get out what
Yeah.
you put into it, right? You can't withdraw $100 if you only got 90 in there, right? So I always try to come to those meetings prepared. One, because you want to maximize every single meeting because the semester is going to end soon. And so if you haven't gotten where you want to be by the end of the semester, here you are paying for an additional semester because you wasn't prepared and you wasn't where you should have been at certain stages of that semester. So preparation, as you mentioned earlier, is critical, critical, critical. That is, if you don't mind paying for more time, right? And I always went to that mindset because there were times when I was prepared and here we are with a chair change. Now I got to start over, right? So it was like, just come as prepared as possible. And I didn't ever let my advisor dictate my meeting. My preparation dictated my meeting, right? I knew what I wanted to get out of every meeting I had with my chair. Now, if my chair had to pull teeth, that was on me because I know then I didn't come prepared. So though I talk about the financial part of it, preparation and being prepared is the most critical, to me, most important part of every meeting you have with your chair.
Yes. Yes. Dr. Smith, he talked about preparation, and I know you've already provided some advice and recommendations, but can you also offer advice of what preparation should look like or can look like for someone who is getting ready to walk into a dissertation status?
Yep. So when I sat down, I talked with my professors. Everything was already laid out and structured. Whenever I had these meetings, these meetings are definitely important. Again, I was coming from Dallas to Auburn, so I had to make sure every time I sat down with them, I knew exactly what I wanted to get done. I knew what needed to be done. I had a goal in mind, and when I left Auburn University, that I had everything I needed to do so I could get to the next point.
So I just want to say thank you to the three of you for sharing. This discussion is very valuable to those who are in a doctoral program. We're going to be, of course, having additional podcasts specifically to talk about the different chapters, what that process looks like for those who are preparing for their dissertation. But if you have questions that you would like to give to the panel, then I'm going to ask you to do me a favor and go to the website, which is Indus Education. There you can submit your questions for our panel, and we will do our very best to respond to your questions. So for more information about our panel, for more information about what we're discussing, please go to the website. It is induseducation.com. That is induseducation.com. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and happy researching.